Okay, in this part 2 of the modeling tutorial, we're going to cover how to do the body. And last tutorial we did the head, which is all detailed up here and could take many hours. It probably took me about 4 or 6 hours, somewhere on there. So the body, we're going to do pretty quickly. We're just going to create a basic body shape, and then in the next tutorial we're going to do all the armor and clothes details. So depending if you want to have a muscular kind of figure, then you probably do the sculpting here, but since I'm adding clothing later, I'll not do so much detail, and I'll kind of intermix it, whether it's adding other pieces and stuff. Alright, so in order to build the clothes, let's delete off what we have right here. We're going to start over here. Let me explain the steps real quick, and then I'll walk you through the steps. Right here we have a box. The box was divided up, so there's 4 across, 2 back and 2 back that way. So once we had that, I then just took those same shapes, didn't add anything else, just kind of rearranged them, pulled the vertices down, moved them over to kind of create this basic shape. The next step is to extrude out these 4 faces and pull them out into getting the arm position. And it's a matter of just expanding and extruding, contracting and then re-expanding to get the different shapes, because it's still pretty much a circle. Then over here, we also took the neckline and pulled that straight upwards to get the collar of the shirt. Down here, we took the, I guess let's start with this one. So deleting off these 2 faces, pulling this edge straight down, down to about this level or so, and then adding another subdivision in there, would create this basic shape. So you pulled it down to here and add another insert edge loop there. And then once we had that whole big opening right here, we took the edges of that opening and extruded that out, expanded it wider, extruded it down, contracted it, extruded it all the way down to here. And then the last, I guess not the last step, the next step is putting the feet. So pulled that straight down and then extruded the front part forward. So when you extrude down once and then twice, you get kind of like this, then you would pull this part forward. So that was the feet. I got extruded down twice and then pulled forwards. And then kind of move all the vertices to get the better shape. Then lastly, we have the hands right here. And so in order to do the hands, I have that listed up here. So it starts with a square. And then the square, take the one edge and pull it in sideways and add 2 edge loops across. This step over here, we're going to pull out the that little square that we created. We're going to extrude that out and then angle it and extrude it again. And then we're going to edge loop that. So where we have the missing edge loops here, we have an edge loop added around here and an edge loop added around here, and then moving pretty much all the vertices one by one and sculpting until we get more or less the curvature shape we're looking for. And then on the underside, we still have more or less what we had before here, extruded out here, but now we're going to insert an edge loop here. And then these were already added, I already explained those, and then we just kind of pull it down, pull it out, and create the shape that we're looking for. And then once we have the basic shape done, we delete out the middle face right here. And so we have an opening right here, create a cylinder by itself, and then we take that cylinder and we add a lot of edge loops on here. We want to double up for the knuckles. We want to have 3 of them here, or 3 loops, which is 2 faces. This way you have better squash and stretch deformation when you have more edge loops. And you want to put those around any area that's really going to bend a lot. So we have the edge loops in there. This part's bumping upwards for the knuckle, and this part's pulling inwards for the underside of the finger. Once you've sculpted out that finger, the last step is to combine them into one piece and then vertex snap. So we have the vertices, so you would snap this one, take that one to there, this one to here, this one to here, and kind of vertex snap all your pieces in, because it was built in a certain topology order that they would all fit together. But don't forget to delete out the insides of the cylinders, or else it's not going to work too well. It would mostly work, but once we have this finished, we can modify any extra pieces and move them all around, and we more or less have a hand, quick and easy. And then we attach this to here, which is another opening, delete out those faces and match up the vertice points, and we get this. Alright, so that more or less overview is what we're going to do in this video. So let's get started on all that real quick. So the first thing is we're going to go take a square and we're going to go draw it on top of the character's front view. So we have the square that mostly fits his chest. We'll go there, jump out, pull it in side view, pull it forwards about that much or so, slide it back so it matches underneath it or matches most of his chest. Over here we need to scale this in a little more. It was a little too wide. I'm going to hold X on keyboard and grid snap this. You can see it pops into place as long as I'm holding X on keyboard. And that it may not, you can see here it's not exactly matching the drawing because the drawing wasn't drawn super mirror symmetrical, but close enough to the character's torso shape. Once we have that built, you can see here that we have the shape that we need. We need to put edge loops on there so it looks like it's 3 horizontal and then 2 for the other directions. So I go click on the inputs for the polycube while the cube is still selected. Width looks like it's about 3. 3. Yep, 3. Nope, 4. So 4 for that one, 4 for the height, and 2 for the height, and 4 for the depth. Alright, so I guess because I drew it in the other viewport, it's going to change these numbers, whether it's width, height, or depth. But basically, you're looking for 4, 2, 4 in whichever order that might be occurring at. And that'll give you the same pieces here. And normally, I would stay on this, I keep working here, but for the demo, I'm just going to jump to this piece because it's already the same piece we just generated. And this might speed through the demo a little easier. So the next objective is to get this piece to turn into this piece. And by doing that, all we have to do, let me put this shading wireframe on shaded. This way I can see the blue lines while I'm sculpting. I don't have to click on them to see the lines. Alright, so I take this and we want to start pulling these. I'm not going to go into super detail on this. Object mode, F for fit on the keyboard, zoom in. Alright, I'm not going to go into super detail because you can always already see the end result. But to kind of show you the general process, we take both of these. It looks like I grabbed too much. You can see that the cursor isn't centered between these 2 points, so I have an extra point selected. It looks like it's right there. Alright, so the cursor centers between 2 dots, which you've selected. You know that it's the only 2 dots you have selected. I'm going to take both of these. Actually, I'm going to grab this as well. So I'll take both of these, pull this down, let go of that one, pull this down further. Take this one and this one, pull this up, and then scale these inwards. I'll take all the sides right here, make sure I don't have any extra. And scale these inwards. This would get pulled in this way, and this would get pulled in a little as well. And you would match this curvature to the outline of the character. So in the front view, when I click on this box, I would go and pull these inwards to match the curvature of the character. I don't want to bother with the other side because that's unnecessary. So in order to account for the other side so it already maintains what we're doing here, I'm going to duplicate that. So it's a matter of going to face mode, selecting the faces that I want to delete, which is this complete second half. Delete that on the keyboard, pressing the delete button. Go back to object mode, click the object, edit, duplicate special, and click the options box so we can make sure we have a -1 scale. And the reason is I have the X direction is going left and right, Y is going up and down. So I want to flip it. You can see the red arrow is X. So left and right is the direction I want. So -1 means left, +1 means right. So -1, apply that, and boom, it mirrors the other, or duplicates the other direction. Actually, I forgot one more thing. Edit, duplicate special. We want to make sure it's an instance. If you don't click instance, it's a copy. You can change one side, it won't affect the other, so it makes this pointless. Instance means if you change one side, it changes the other side. So let's apply that and close. So now when I go to this side, vertex, you can see it already highlights the other side. I can go to scale these, pull these backwards to create more of the shoulders, and it automatically updates the other side. So you would do that again on the front of here with the duplicate, and then whatever side you pull in will match better here. You don't have to be super specific to the drawing you've done, just in case it's not symmetrical. But we have this here, and the chest still is pretty flat in the this one, so you need more curvature. So you'd want to pull out the, I guess the face right here. So he has more pecs, I guess, and more musculature, and the abs kind of drop inwards. And then the whole back as well. He's going to have, I guess you'd say the scapula, I think that's the right word, the backbone basically, not the backbone, the shoulder bone. So he has to have a little bit of shoulder area back there, and then the back usually pulls inwards a little bit, so it has more curvature to him. He's not just a straight flat board on the back. He has some degree of curvature, and you can exaggerate this depending if he's muscular or not. We can take these two edges, and rather than moving them, I can just press scale and scale them inwards. So we start to get the same shape. And again, more time and finesse to get a more accurate shape. The next step, once we have this, is we want to make the arms. So I'm going to go to face mode, grab 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 faces, and I'm going to extrude this out. The extrude button is right here. Click on that. Blue means it comes straight forward, so I'm going to pull this forwards, and then maybe not that far. Then I can click rotate, which is this ring around here. Click on that once, and now I can use the green arrow to rotate. I can click the arrow direction, and then I can move. I can grab right in the middle and just pull down a little bit, and keep repeating this process. So that looks pretty decent. G is the repeat the last command button, which is extrude, and I can pull again. And that should work. Click on scale, scale it in a little bit, go to move, and I can just use the keyboard shortcuts also for W. Alright, and that does that, and G to repeat the last command, extrude it a little more. We'll scale it inwards, W for move, and you can see here we're starting to create the arm shape. I'm running out of room, but I would keep the same process, extrude it a little more, scale smaller, then extrude it, scale it wider, and then narrower. And once you're done, you would go to the vertex level, vertice, and start pushing and pulling every vertice until you have the correct arm that you're looking for. Also, we want to do that for the neck as well. So let's go to face mode, here and here. Let's extrude that upwards, and I'm going to pull it straight up. At the moment, it's set to normals, so or local, it's going to any direction. If I click this little button right here, and then pull straight upwards, it pulls straight upwards vertical, not based on the local orientation. Also of note, even though we pulled it up and it looks like it's perfect, there's actually a face inside of here. So we're going to zoom in inside of his chest, and eventually we'll find it. Okay, so now that we're inside, you can see it created an extra face or 2 faces right here. I'm going to delete those out of there. This way he doesn't, so as we're looking up inside the neck area, there's no faces inside of there. Otherwise you won't be able to weld too well or merge the vertices. Let's go to vertex mode, and you can see if I click on this, it pulls it around, so we can tell that there's no extra faces inside of there. It's going to cause a problem, so we're good there. And if I wanted to flatten off the top for this being his collar of the shirt, I can grab all the vertices, quick and easy, go to scale, and bring this green dot all the way to the yellow dot. You can go past and inverts it, but I'll stop on the yellow dot, and that'll pretty much flatten out the top. So now he has the top collar for the top. And I can grab these and these as well. Looks like I grabbed too many. Okay, and then I can scale these in and move them this way and round out the collar a bit more. And that starts to create that basic shape. Alright, so that's far enough for that step. The next step is to create the leg, so I'm going to jump to this model. For this one's face mode, take both of these and delete those off of there, so it creates a hole down there. Then I'll go to edge mode, grab this edge in the middle and pull it straight down. And you would go based on the drawing to know how far downwards you need to pull. So we have, let's say, a depth of about here. Looks pretty similar to that one. So now we're going to go to, I guess I could do either edge loop or just interactive split tool. I'll go edit mesh, insert edge loop. I'll click right here, put one right in the middle, and click right here, put one right in the middle. Alright, done. So now I'll round this out by pulling this backwards, go to this edge, pull this edge forward. So now I have a leg hole. But we also want to adjust this a little bit. So I'm going to pull this vertice closer. I'm going to pull, I guess, these up a little higher, pull that a little higher, and then take these, pull these down and over a little bit. And this way I create more of a rounded curvature. I'm trying to grab both front and back at the same time. This way it saves me the step of doing it one by one. Alright, so that creates the leg opening for me. I could also, I guess, pull these down a little bit lower if I wanted to. But that should work. So this line goes there, this one's here. I guess I have the leg up a little bit too high in comparison to this one. So let's grab all of these, pull these down a bit lower, and let's go insert another edit mesh, insert edge loop, pop another edge loop in there. Alright, so that puts that one back in there. So this one, and then we have the legs down here. So let's go back to vertex mode. Let's grab these, let's scale these in a little closer. And let's take these and flatten those out as well. Not too much, but a little bit. And then pull this down a little bit lower. Alright, so that looks a little more similar to what we have here. So 1, 2, 3, and then the legs coming out. The fewer polygons we use, the easier it is to work with. If we keep using a lot of polygons, it's going to take a lot of pushing and pulling for every individual vertex, and I don't want to spend that much time. Alright, so the next step is going to edge mode. I can double click this edge and it'll loop and grab the whole thing for me. We're going to go to extrude like we've been doing, and we'll extrude out the edge. That's not quite working so well, so let's Control Z on that. Let's try the blue one. Alright, so the blue one works pretty well, except it is way extruded outwards, so I'm going to go R for scale and scale that back downwards. Alright, and maybe a little bit further out, and then I can go W for move it down a little bit more, and maybe a lot more. Alright, so we've got the leg started right about there. Let's scale that out a little more and repeat. Extrude. Blue one, we could try the green one, but it's going to just distort that. Blue one pulls it straight out, but the blue one's having issues. So let's click this little world icon right here and goes to world space. So now I can jump into front view, even though it's not on top of the character design, but you would normally do on top of the character. And you can pull out where that's going to go. I could try and scale it and set the scale to, actually it's already on object. Oh well, so that's not working too well. I could try and, nah, it's fine. So we're going to pull this in. This is going to be the knees. So it's going to go about right there. And let's go to vertex mode. And here's where it gets a little more tedious. Grabbing each of these manually and kind of straighten out the knees so it's a little more straight. Alright, and then repeat. Actually, I could probably rotate this a little more. Okay, go back to edge mode. Grab these edges, but not those edges. So I just have those selected, extrude again. Go back to world mode. Pull it straight down to here. Scale it out. And keep repeating until we have the legs at the end. His legs are coming way too far apart, so I'm going to take these in vertex mode and rotate. And then move. Alright, so that's a little better. And again, it's a lot of just playing around trying to get the correct proportions, the correct locations for these things. Let's move those up there. And you would normally build this off top your drawing instead of just kind of guessing in the middle of the air. So it's making it a little more tricky to kind of figure out where these things are going to end up at. But that should more or less work. And so you keep going and extrude the rest of the legs downwards. The next step, we're going to aim for the feet. So let's jump back to here in perspective mode. So assuming I did all of that all the way down, we've got the opening still right here at the very edge, and we want to make feet. So let's go to edge mode, grab these edges I want to work with, but not those. So that's shift, or just regular grab, then control grab will unselect the rest of them. Let's go and extrude downwards. So I'm going to use the world settings, pull straight downwards, part way, good enough, and then G to repeat the last command, world settings back down here, and here's where you again would use the bottom of your drawing and figure out exactly where this would be stopping at. So about right there. And then I can go R for scale, and I can flatten out the feet. So you can see by scaling your edges or vertices, you can flatten out how they're going to turn out. And then I can slide them left and right. Let's scale it a little bit wider so his feet are a little bit wider. I'll go to vertex mode and grab these and scale these a little bit wider as well. Alright, so his feet do look quite strange at the moment, but they're on the ground plane, which is what we're looking for. Next up is grabbing some faces. So looks like I'm going to grab the front 4 faces right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to grab these 4. Actually, I want to grab the 4 above it as well. Alright, so I've got the front 4. It's kind of a lot of points selected, but that'll work. And then we're going to extrude. And I can either use this one, which will kind of go out in all directions, or I can set it to world mode again, and then pull it just straight forward. And so that's what I'll do, I'll just go straight forward. And you, again, look at your drawing to figure out how far forward are you going, and that looks about accurate. Alright, and then now I can scale it, or I can just take the vertices by themselves. So I'll go to vertex mode, grab all of these on the top, W for move, pull those down to there, grab these, pull these down to there. Actually, I pulled this out too far. So let's pull this backwards to, oops, too many points. Pull this back to here. So it's half of his foot. And then you're back to face mode and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Extrude again. World mode, pull that straight out. And again, match the drawing. Perfect. And then the long, arduous process of vertex for vertex, modifying and pulling and tweaking every little one of these vertices to getting the desired result. So something about like that, and his feet usually aren't just going to be straight out. So I'm going to take all of these and rotate a little bit. Let's try it again. Alright. And so that's a little more accurate. You usually stand with your feet kind of pointed outwards and not directly straight ahead. And you'd want to adjust all that. The last thing, I want to fill this hole. So if I click on edge, click the edge I want, or double click the whole edge ring, and then go to mesh, fill hole, and it'll fill the hole right in there for me. But just because it fills the hole doesn't mean it's going to be the best geometry. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-sided octagon right here, so we want to cut that up a little bit. I'm going to cut straight down the back side and repeat the command with G. Click on that to there, enter. That didn't work, try it again. Click from here to, nope, to there, to there. Alright, so that worked. Backspace while doing that mode will undo the most recent click you've done. Alright, so that more or less finishes off the feet right there. So we've got the feet done, we have the body mostly there. So the last step is just putting on the hands. And pressing the 3 button on the keyboard will smooth out your character. Pressing 1 will go back to the hard edges. So for the hands now, we're going to start over here with this shape, which is just basically a square, just drawing a square on your grid. And then next we're going to add some loops in here. So I'm going to take this edge first and pull this inwards to create that. And then let's take the whole face, I guess, and move that upwards so it's a little flatter like a hand would normally be. Alright, and then put the edge loops in there. So edit mesh, insert edge loop. We'll drop one there, and we'll drop one there. And we have the same shape right there. Next up, we're going to go and extrude out that. So let's go to face mode, pop on, or grab this face. We'll go click extrude, and I'll grab the blue arrow and pull it straight out. And then I'll click the ring once, and then I'll grab the green arrow and drag that. And then I'll just move it, I guess. Move a little closer there. Okay, that's probably close enough. Alright, so we have that there, and let's also scale that in a little bit because the thumb is narrowing, and then move it back some more. Alright, and then repeat one more time. G, pull that out. We're going to scale it smaller, and then move it into position. Alright, and you can keep playing with that and kind of playing with the details to get it as accurate as you want, but that would be the thumb. The next step is to add more edge loops on here to kind of smooth it out and kind of define more shape. So let's go to Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop. Click the edge loop right here. Put one right down the middle of his thumb. I'm going to press R just to scale it up a little bit while I'm here. Most likely I'll have to go vertex for vertex and pull it around. But that's a quick little option. Just try and scale it universally. Next up, we're going to repeat the last command, G. Put a edge loop right down the middle. We can try and scale it up in this direction, but then we're going to want to move it and pull this up. By moving it, it creates an upper arch for the upper hand and creates the concave surface down here for the lower hand. Next up, we want to add some more subdivisions here. So, oops. We're going to want to put, I guess, one right here. And I'll press R to scale it in a little bit, and G to repeat, and scale again a little bit bigger. And one more we want to put, so G to repeat the last command, drop one right down the middle. Alright, and again, playing with every vertex, going into vertex mode, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. Grab a vertex, pull it out, this one stays in, this one pulls out, this one could probably pull out as well, and you would play with this until you get the desired shape. Alright, and pulling out these sides as well, you can try and quickly grab a bunch of them, pull a bunch of them out, and that saves a little bit of time. So we have the hand getting started pretty well. The next step is to delete out the faces right here, so we'll go to face mode, take this, delete, and we have a delete on the keyboard. We'll delete them. We have that done, and then we want to create a cylinder. I could draw it on the ground plane and bring it up there for you. Actually, I could probably just click cylinder and draw it in the side view. So since I'm building them right here, start drawing it right there. Click out, and it still wants to know what the height is. So wherever it drew it, oh, it drew it way over here on the grid. So pull it forward a little bit, and then move it way over here. Alright, so we've got the cylinder created. I'm going to reduce the subdivisions and such because that's a lot of vertices and I don't want to work with that many. This one is a 6-sided 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided hexagon, so click on your inputs. And you can't change the inputs very well once you've done other things like move vertices, so make sure you do all your inputs before you change any vertices and such. Subdivision axis, instead of 20, I'm going to try 6. It does make it a lot more blocky, but blocky is easier to work with than having 20 of those lines to work with. That's a lot of lines. Subdivision height, I'm not going to worry about just yet. Caps is set to 1, which is, I guess could work. If I set it to 0, it'll wipe out the lines, then I can kind of draw my own lines so I don't have the point in the middle instead of a pointy finger. This way it has more of a block finger instead of just a really sharp point. Alright, and you also want to, scale it to being the appropriate size. That's probably a little too small. Up to about there, move it, and we're good. The next step, once you have that in place like so, I'll move that over there. We have this, and we want to go through and insert a bunch more edge loops. Let's go to object mode. I guess I'll stick with this one. I'll put this one over here. So we're going to go edit mesh, insert edge loop. I'm going to want one right here, and then one right there, and one right there. And then the same thing, one here, and one here. So everywhere your finger is going to bend, where your knuckles are, is where you want to be putting these things. And then for the last part, we're going to put one more in the front. So one more right there. Alright, and vertex for vertex, adjust all these. I can try and go and save a little bit of time, double click on this, which selects everything, then R for scale, scale it up a little bit, but then I still have to go and grab this vertex and pull it up. The reason is you have a knuckle right here and you bend your finger into here, so there's a little bit of curvature. It makes it a little more realistic, and you can play with the vertices a little more. You want to put edge loops here because when you bend your finger, anything that has more edge loops next to it will allow more bendability. You can't bend a straight line because there's no vertices to bend. So the more vertices you have, the better it bends. So if I press 3 on the keyboard to smooth, this separates them, but it also allows this to bend and flex a lot more. You'll have a very blocky character if you don't have edge loops at all the bending areas of the joints. So it looks pretty good with 3. You can see there's a little bit of a bump, so you can probably modify that, pull this up a little higher to kind of get that, and kind of adjust these as well, put this up a little higher, and a lot of fine tuning to get a nice decent finger, but I'm not going to spend the time with that in the video. And you can see there's a nice finger arch there. You repeat that for this, and for the top of the tip of the finger, we'll take this, pull this, pull this one down and this one upwards. So R if I take both points and make it symmetrical. And then we'll take all of these and scale these in a little bit that way, and maybe a little more this way. Alright, so we have kind of the same thing, and when you put it on smooth mode, you have more of a rounded finger instead of a pointier finger. Alright, so once that's all done, we want to duplicate this. So we can press Control D to duplicate and move it over here, and you can start building your fingers. Also of note, your fingers aren't going to be the same size. Your pinky is going to be smaller and your middle finger is going to be bigger. So you're going to want to scale these differently. So let's say this one gets scaled bigger because it's like the middle finger. Duplicate, Control D, move it over here, R, and scale it smaller, and that'll be your pinky. And they're also pointed different directions, so I want to rotate it a little bit so it's facing that direction. Slide it over there, slide this one over here, and you can start to get the look of your fingers. So once you have all 4 of these positioned in the right location, we also want to add a couple more edge loops here. We added one right here on this one, which I didn't mention yet. So edit mesh, insert edge loop, and we'll put a loop right here. And by doing this, we now have the option to start dividing some extra points. So we also want to add a few more rings. So loops one right there, and again, grab all those vertices one at a time and kind of modify them. And you can see it's starting to get the hand shape. So here we need to cut some more loops in here. So let's go here, and let's click here to here to here, and let's hope that works. Press enter. Alright, G to repeat. We're going to go from here up to here. That does leave a triangle on the hand, so we can try and modify that, but it should be okay for what we're doing. You want to try and avoid triangles as much as possible because they don't squash and stretch very well. But if you keep putting a lot of lines in here, you're going to have a hand fully dense with lines just for the sake of matching up the fingers. But I'll do one more. We can keep track of this up to here. I can go to here, enter. That didn't work. We'll stick with the triangle first. Alright, and so we can keep cutting more lines, so it would have to be another line being triangulated right there. Once we've cut all our lines, we'll do that on the bottom side as well, so we can match these different points. We're creating the middle points that aren't already there yet. The last thing is to merge these together. So in order to merge your objects, so when you click it, it grabs one instead of individual points. You want to grab everything, and then go to Mesh, Combine, boom, and it becomes one solid piece now. So now you have one hand. Once you have one hand, you can start welding your vertices together. If they're separate objects, you won't be able to weld them together. Welding your vertices means going to vertex mode, and let's say this one needs to go to here, and I don't want to just move it there because it's still not touching even though I moved it. We want to weld it. So welding means, let's say if I move it here and then I let go and then I grab it again, it's not actually connected. So hold shift, hold right click, merge vertices, and merge vertex tool. Otherwise, the shortcut is going to Edit, Mesh, Merge Vertex tool. Oops, that would be probably the F1 help button. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to click that to there, and that merges your vertices. So click and drag vertex 1 to vertex 2, and it merges it. So now when I keep doing this, and this one needs to be merged over there. Sometimes it gets hard to see if you press 4 on the keyboard. You can go wireframe mode and find them and match them back up there. So that merges them together. However, if you don't merge out your vertices, if you don't delete out your faces right here when you combine them, your hands are going to have faces inside of your object, and then they're going to have creases on your fingers. So we want to make sure we delete out these faces. So grab the faces of your rectangles and delete those out. So now we can see straight through the finger. So repeat that, delete those out, and now we can see through everything, and keep repeating the same process. Go to vertex mode. Alright, merge vertex tool. Click and drag to here, click and drag to there, and they start merging. I don't have to do this inside the hand, but it makes it easier to see. Alright, and keep repeating that for the bottom row of the fingers as well. And we're good there. So, so merge vertex tool. Alright, so that should work there. And in the end, we'll have the hand with the fingers on there. We put 3 on the keyboard for smooth, and to smooth it out pretty well, we'll turn off the wireframe with shaded, and you can see here that smooths it out pretty well. Right here, you can see this edge right here. The edge right here, usually it's because you extrude things, so when you press 3 on the keyboard, it usually goes away. But before it goes away, it looks like the hard edge. You can go to normals and soften edge, and that'll smooth it out so you don't see that hard edge anymore. But the reason it's still here, even after doing that, normals, soften edge, the reason is because the faces are still sitting on the inside. So if I go here, you can see the faces never got deleted. If I go to face mode and delete this out, and then zoom out, object mode, you can see it takes out that line. So I left the faces in there by accident, and thus you get those crease marks. Alright, so the very last thing is to connect it to the wrist. So I'll take this hand right here and drop it straight down and over and fit that on the screen. Let's rotate the hand in place. Alright, so the hand's now lined up with it. I'll put that back in 1 mode. And it looks like I should probably pull this out just a little bit, and we'll go to vertex mode. Actually, the whole hand probably is a little large. No, it's about the right size. So we're just going to pull these in then. So scale these in a little closer, object mode, move it a little further over, and we're going to match that together. So in order to merge vertices, you have to combine them. So select both of these, mesh, combine, right click, go to face mode. Don't forget to delete out the faces on the hand or the wrist. And now you can start matching up your vertices. There may or may not be enough vertices when you go through with it, but there should be, because we've already built it to a number that should match. So we'll go to vertex mode, grab the vertice, hold shift, merge vertices, merge vertex tool, and click them until they all match. Start with this side. It looks like down here we're going to have an issue where they don't fully match. Alright, so a couple of these aren't, they don't have enough. We could either add more lines up here, which is possible, or we could start combining and consolidating some of these points and merging them together. So it does make some triangles to do this, but it's either that or put more lines up through here. So that should more or less work. Just probably get, if you spend more time, even more specific and detailed with it, but that should work well enough. So vertex mode, I'm going to go merge vertices, merge a vertex tool, drag that over there. So it does make a triangle right there. And this one might as well connect over there. And we can either put more triangles in here, or we could make these into triangles, I guess. Or put the line up higher on the wrist and run around the wrist a little more. So I guess for now I'm just going to drag this here because this is the easier option, saves us some time. So it might cause some stretching and deformation later, but that should be enough for now. It should match, so everything is connected all the way down from here to the fingers. It's all one solid piece. And again, if I want to get rid of these hard edges, click the guy, normals, soften edge, boom, and it's all softened. And the end result is we have this guy right here. And that about covers how to create the basic body shape. And the next video we're going to cover on part 3, how to put the clothes and details on the character.